Memory techniques are great for quickly memorizing new information in the short run. But for any long-term learning, regardless of how you got that information into your brain in the first place, you're going to need to do some spaced repetition. Now, a lot of my students ask me, now that I've memorized this information, how often and for how long am I going to need to go through it until it's in my long-term memory? Now, you can absolutely set up your own study schedule with review scheduled in so that eventually it goes to your long-term memory. Personally, I like to take the angst out of that process, and I'm going to walk you through what I use, which is software that is a flashcard app called Anki. Now, it's basically just taking the guesswork and the labor out of working out when you need to review something again. So you upload study cards in decks into Anki, and then each day Anki will tell you what cards are due in what decks. So it might be that you've got a deck of new Spanish fruits and vegetables you're learning, you could be learning new words, or maybe it's something you're studying like, biology definitions or something like that. But it uses an algorithm or a set of rules to determine when you need to see a flashcard again, depending on how hard you found it and how old the card is due. So you see the card and then it gives you options like, again, hard, good, or easy. And you'll see that through this video. Now, you can use Anki on your phone, you can use it on the web, you can also use it through a desktop app, and all of these sync with each other. So I tend to use the phone quite a lot instead of, doom scrolling if I'm at a bus stop or something like that and I want to be productive. But I do sometimes sit down for a structured study session to my computer, or I might be using it if I'm uploading a bulk deck to my new decks. So as I understand it, Anki is free across all the different types except for iPhone. So I did used to have an Android and now I've got an iPhone. I had to do a once-off purchase of the app. It wasn't that expensive. But step one is to basically set up an account. You do that on your phone or your computer, and then you use that account to sync across your Anki devices. Now, some people choose to just use it on their phone because that's the way that they're going to, use that information. Just be aware that if you're only using the phone version, you have to manually enter each card. So if you do want to upload a deck all at once, you're going to need to have the desktop app. Now, the tech part and getting started is the hardest bit because it does depend on if you have a Mac, a PC, an iPhone, an Android, and what you want to do with it. So because of that, I've written a detailed blog. It's in the link in the description, so please take a look at that. It's well and truly worth getting it set up. But basically in this video, I'm going to assume you have an account, and I'm just going to show you how I use that software in order to make sure what I've memorized sticks around with me for the long run. So here's my Anki account on the web, Anki web. These are the decks I currently have. I'm just going to open up my Anki desktop app as well to just show you they look pretty similar. You've got all the different decks that you have in there that, these are the ones I'm learning, or I've learnt them in the past and I need to go over them here and there. You'll see there's these different coloured cards that are due at different times. If they're blue, it means they're not learnt yet, according to Anki. They've just been put in recently. If they're red, it means that I'm in the process of learning them. And if they're green, it means that I know these cards. They're mature cards that I'm getting right generally. I might not have seen them for a while if it's an old deck. But it's time to go back over and check that I still know that information. So one of my older, a fairly old deck would be these. Let's look at these numbers here. This is a fairly old deck. I put it in a long time ago. So I don't have any new, I don't have any I'm learning. I have 200 to check that I still know them. Don't worry too much about what this means, these numbers. This is something for memory sports, but essentially if I hit study now, this number comes up. I need to say what the answer is, which is gold bar. I show the answer, and I found it easy, so I could hit easy and it won't show it to me for 20 days. So, that's quite a long time. If I struggled with it though, and I hit hard, it'd be 13 days. If I got it wrong and hit again, I would see it again this session, and I think again tomorrow or in a couple of days' time. And then if I go to a deck that is newer, like these ones here that I've actually just recently got from a shared deck that you can get on the web, which I'll show you as well. If I click in this one's going to have fairly fancy cards because it's a shared one that someone's made, and it's pretty cool. But essentially, if I hit study now on this one, this is what's on the front of the deck, and I have to go sore wa tottemo ii hanashi da. And that means that, I believe. I'll show the answer.
それはとってもいい話だ。
I can play what it sounds like if I want to know how that actually sounds. And I got it right. I did sort of find it, a little bit. It was okay. I'd hit easy or good on that one, depending on how I felt internally, whether I needed to see it or not. But you can see that because this is a newer deck, easy is not 20 days away or something, it's 2 days away. So it's going to show it to me much more frequently. Now, in all of these versions, in Anki Web and Anki Desktop and on your phone, you can add a card manually. So you just want to add a single card. That's pretty easy to do. An example of when you might like to do this would be, if you're an avid reader or you like picking up new words and you hear one or you look one up. Often that happens on my Kindle. I'll look up a word, I'll go, oh, what does that mean again? I find out the definition. I'll make a memory technique link for it. And I'll just pick up my mobile phone and I'll just add in the card. On the front, it'll be the new word, and the back will be the definition. And then I don't have to worry if I'm going to forget it or not, because Anki's going to show it to me again really soon, and I can test out if I manage to memorize it or not and go back over it until it's in my long-term memory. But often we actually want to upload a whole heap of information that we might have studied ourselves, or we're studying for an exam, or a list of phrases that we want for when we're visiting a country or something like that. And then what we can do is we can upload a file that we make ourselves. So you need to put it into Excel, into a CSV format. And you basically would just be you've got to be in the Anki desktop app version. You go create deck, and we're going to go Spanish feminine fruits and vegetables. Spanish feminine fruits and vegetables. So we've got a whole list of them. If you don't know why we're doing them like feminine and masculine, or you don't know how to do the actual memory techniques to remember this information in the short run, check out the video in the link in the description, because it's actually got a video about memorizing exactly this. So make the deck. So right now that's it there. It's got nothing in it. So we're going to import a file now. So basically I'm going to click import and just go to where that file is in CSV and open it. And you can see that it's automatically sort of opened it like this. It's got it right. So it's opened it as a basic and reversed card type of card. So it's not a fancy card with audio and images and things like that, but I don't need that for this. On the front, it's going to say apple, and when I see apple, I need to be able to say manzana, which will be on the back. So basic and reversed. You can explore all the different types that you can do, which there's a lot of them. It's asking me what deck we want to put this in. We just want to put it in that new one we just created, Spanish feminine fruits and vegetables. It gives us an example of the front and the back. So that's good. That's what we want there. If we wanted to tag it, we could tag all these notes. So that would be useful for something like, there's a range of reasons why it could be useful, but one of them might be if you're doing a lot of Spanish learning or language learning or something like that, and you want to be able to sometimes study from the tags or something like that. You want to review all your Spanish things, but we won't put a tag on this one. We're just going to go import. We've imported 40 new things into there, And then if we're lucky, there we go. So we've got 40 new cards that are due to review. And so if you'd followed along in the last video and you've memorized those fruits and vegetables that we did in that video, then you would now have them in here. It's saying that you've got 40 new ones due. For some people that might be too much to go over in a day, so you can set that yourself. You just hit this little cog here, you go options, and you go, I don't want to see 40 new words a day, I only want to see 5, please. And then you go save, and that goes down to 5. So it's only going to show 5 new cards that it thinks you haven't studied yet, but obviously if you've put memory techniques to it first, then you've already done a little bit of studying. Sometimes you might want to get a deck that's been shared on the web. So we can also do that. So if you look here, this is Anki web now. So I've logged into my account on the web and these are my decks. So we can see that our new deck isn't in here yet. So I'm just going to go back and I'm going to synchronize this now. So I'm going to make sure that the other versions update with that new information. And then we'll go over here. So this is the web version again now. So I've gone over to my web version. It's not here. We might just refresh that. And there you can see it has shown up here. It would also be showing up in the app on my phone. So that's how you upload a study deck of your own. But you can also get these shared decks from other people. So you've got to get that from the Anki web version. So this is where it gets a bit confusing. The Anki desktop app is where you upload your own deck that you've made. To get a shared deck, you go to the web version. And then the funny thing is once you choose what you want to get from here, you still have to go back to your Anki desktop app, but I'll just show you that. So we go, oh, look, I want to learn any one of these things, or you can also search up here because they're not all neatly in here. Like let's say we want to search philosophy. What decks might there be in philosophy? And you can see what ratings it's been given. You kind of want to keep in mind that people have shared these decks, so you need to check how good of a deck it actually is for yourself. I normally just check out a few of the cards just to see that they look like what I think they should be. But let's say we want to, maybe I want to learn some anatomy. So I go to anatomy and I go, oh, what do I want? So we're looking at ratings as well a little bit, and you know, whether it's all blue or it's got some negatives. This one I've opened before, it's massive, it's amazing, but it's too big for what I want right now. So maybe I just want something simple like Grey's Anatomy. It's got 11 ratings, that's normally okay. You click on it and it gives you a sample of what you're going to see. So the front of a card would look like this. And then the back of the card, you would have to go, the number 1 was the arch of the aorta. So basically if you're interested in learning that, you could essentially go, yeah, look, I think that looks good. It's got some good reviews, and we go download. And you'll notice it says here, it's not possible to add the shared deck directly to Anki Web. You've got to do it to your desktop, which is why you kind of need all 3 versions for the most flexibility. You need to make one account and then have it on your login on your account on the web. You need to have the desktop app and your mobile app as well. But I'm just going to hit download. And then when the download is complete, it's pretty straightforward. You basically just open the file in the download. So I go up here and just open that up. Oops, I meant to hit the folder. And so when you hit the folder here, it says import options. We're going to import it. It's got 391 notes. We're going to go show. I'm just going to go show for a second. It shows it in the background. Don't worry, you will learn where all of this is eventually. And then I'm going to close that. And if we're lucky, where did my deck go? Oh, there we go. There it is. So Grey's Anatomy, it's set it to the 5 new cards that we want per day. And we could start that right away and go study now. And obviously we haven't memorized this yet, so we don't know this. So the way I would do this is I'd go, okay, I'm going to learn all of the number ones to start. So I'd go, okay, so number one's this little part here, show answer. And I'd go, okay, first of all, I'd go and work out how that's pronounced. And then I'd put a memory technique to attach that word to that image that we just saw. I'd hit again to show I don't have it yet. And then it's going to show it to me in 1 minute again on that study session. So I get a chance to see if my memory technique actually worked in order to bring that information back for me. So that's the nuts and bolts of those two versions. One more thing I just might show you is, because this question, I get this quite a lot from people. Sometimes, you know, you might feel like you want to run through a whole deck, even though, you know, you've gone through all the ones that are, you know, are due for you, but you feel like you just want to run through them again. So you can do that just by going in, like if we chose this one, it says I've finished for now. I go custom study. And then I want to look, if it was a newer deck, I could review, increase today's review card limit, review forgotten cards, review ahead. But this is a really old deck, so I'm basically going to go study by card or card, state or tag. I'm going to go review all cards in a random order, choose tags. I don't have any tags in there, that's okay. And then you can see I have 100 to study. You can either study them now here. If you do go back to your decks, you won't see it under your numbers, but you will see it in your custom study session for today. So that's something I just get really asked a lot is, how can I just view my whole deck again? You know, I've got these 15 words and I've gone through them, but I want to go through them again. That's one way to see them again. Another question I get pretty often about using memory techniques in something like Anki is a memory palace still a valid thing to use? Because Anki shuffles the deck in terms of, you know, it's presented to you in a shuffled format, but also over time, you know, one card's easy and one's hard, and so they get in a completely jumbled order, and a memory palace is in a certain order. I still use memory palaces for some information that I upload into Anki. When I see the word that I'm trying to remember or the piece of information I'm trying to remember, when I'm trying to bring back that information, I just see the image and I'll naturally see where it is in the memory palace. And so that's handy for a few reasons. You've got an extra association that you can rely on that's not just that original image. You can also look in that place in your head. But it also does give you still some additional information about the data that you wouldn't have without it being in a memory palace, like it's a feminine fruit or vegetable, or it might be that the information you've originally remembered is in an order, like GDP or something. So by seeing it in the place in the memory palace, you still have that extra bit of information that you've memorized. So don't worry too much about the fact that Anki shuffles information if you originally memorized it in a memory palace. Just still try to see where it is in the palace when you're using that image to bring back the information. So I hope that helps you use Anki. There's a lot that it can actually do, so you're going to keep learning as you go along, as with everything. There is one other thing I want to cover off on to do with long-term learning. It's a question I get a lot, which is, am I always going to need to see the image and the story in order to bring the information back? And the answer is no. So when you've newly memorized something or a card is new, it's normal for a while that you're going to need to see the mnemonic in order to bring the information back. But over the long run, you'll find yourself seeing cards and just knowing the answer. Now, you don't need to fight this. It basically means that spaced repetition is doing its job and that information is moving into your long-term memory. The only time you need to fight to see that image is if you still need that image in order to bring the information back. So I do hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're not already a subscriber to my channel, please do so. And that way you'll know when my new videos come out.